Congressman Mulvaney, I have talked to some members of the House whose views are very different than yours, but they say you're a straight shooter, that you're honest, and I appreciate that. That's a good quality in a member of Congress. Over the weekend, I happened to bump into a psychologist, and she told me that her patients are getting very nervous, those who are on disability benefits, that they might lose their benefits, and in fact, their conditions are getting worse. And I've heard that all over the country, that people now are worried that they may lose Social Security, may lose Medicare, may lose Medicaid disability benefits. I happen to believe that Social Security is one of the most significant and important and positive programs that the United States government has, that Medicare, by and large, is an enormously successful health care program, and in fact, a majority of the American people would like to see Medicare expanded to all Americans, something that I believe, and that Medicaid right now is saving the lives of millions of people. But you are on record time after time after time, and I read the quotes. You're saying, cut Social Security, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid. Now, what concerns me is you are more than entitled to your views. You got elected by the people in your own district. But what does disturb me is we have a president who ran on a set of principles that he would not cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and yet he is nominating somebody whose views are very, very different. So I have a real problem with that. So my question to you is, what will you tell the president when he says, I ran on a set of principles that I will not cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? Will you tell the President of the United States, Mr. President, keep your word, be honest with the American people, do not cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid?
Senator, your question was, what would I tell the President? And I listened as Senator Cotton was giving his introduction, and I really liked what he said. I didn't know what he was going to say until he said it. But he gave you the answer, which is the only thing I know to do is to tell the President the truth. And the truth is that if we do not reform these programs that are so important to your constituents in Vermont and to mine in South Carolina, I believe in 9 or 10 years the Medicaid Trust Fund is empty. In roughly 17 or 18 years the Social Security Trust Fund is empty. We could choose to do something about that now, or we could choose to do something
There is a lot, forgive me for interrupting, I only have 5 minutes. There is a lot that we can do, including lifting the cap on income above $250,000, which would enable us to extend and expand Social Security very significantly. But the problem that I'm having right now is not just your nomination, but the integrity and the honesty of somebody who ran for office on one set of principles, nominating somebody else whose views are very different. But let me ask you another question. When you were a member of the South Carolina Senate, you voted for a proposition that said Social Security is unconstitutional. Do you believe that Social Security is unconstitutional?
No, sir. It was brought to my attention this morning before the hearing. I don't remember the vote, but I can assure you as I sit here today, I do not believe that Social Security or Medicare are unconstitutional.
You were one of 6 members of the South Carolina State Legislature to vote on a proposition that said Social Security, the Department of Education, Medicaid are in violation of the 10th Amendment. You no longer hold the view that Social Security is unconstitutional.
I believe you, Senator. I have no reason to disbelieve that. But again, as I sit here, I will not be arguing to the President of the United States that Social Security or Medicare are unconstitutional.
Mr. Mulvaney, Congressman, in July 2015, you wrote a letter stating, and I quote, I vehemently urge House Republican leadership to use every available tool to strip Planned Parenthood of any and all taxpayer funds and to take measures to prevent the group from receiving taxpayer dollars in the future, end quote. Some 2.5 million Americans, many of them low-income women, now get their health care through Planned Parenthood. At a time when we have 28 million people who have no health insurance today, despite the gains of the Affordable Care Act, you really believe that we should tell 2.5 million Americans, many of them low-income women who get high-quality care at Planned Parenthood, that they should no longer have access to Planned Parenthood. I hear a lot of talk in this body from our Republican friends about choice. We want to give people choice. 2.5 million Americans, many low-income women, choose Planned Parenthood as their choice for health care. Why would you deny them that choice?
Senator, I don't have the letter in front of me, but I do remember the debate, and I also remember what I voted for, and it may have been addressed in the letter. The proposal that the House put forward in July of 2015 would have moved the money from Planned Parenthood to the federally qualified health care clinics, which are more prevalent, more available, and actually serve more needy women than
Congressman, I know a lot about the community health centers. I'm one of the leading advocates for them here and help increase funding for them. But 2.5 million people, mostly women, have chosen Planned Parenthood. And after all the talk about choice and we want a health care system which allows people to go any place they want, your recommendation is that we should deny 2.5 million women their choice of health care. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Graham.